My name is John and I'm at Paint School on Instagram. I've done over $15 million in paint jobs and I'm based out of Huntington Beach, California. Aaron is at Alpha Painting on Instagram. He's managed huge commercial projects with impossible timelines and now is a few years into building his own operation out of Branson, Missouri.
And you should probably check out our full process videos on YouTube because they're pretty badass.
Our point in doing this podcast is to put our 40 plus years of combined experience to the test. We've seen a decline in the industry, and while I think it's a bit arrogant to think we can change it, we're giving it a shot. Listen up and let us know what you think. This is Paint Sniffers Podcast.
All right, we're back on. This one, we're going to take a deeper dive into economic issues. Maybe what kind of effect that's going to have on us in the near or not so near future. But first, let's jump in. Let's get caught up a little bit. What projects do you have going on right now? Have you wrapped up your big projects already? You had two of them going on, right?
Yeah, I'm still on the Centaurian one. I've got everything is done. Like all my rooms are 100% complete, and then I'm in the main room now. I've got the walls pre-sanded, double primed, sanded, top coated, and everything's encapsulated now. And we had to, and then also the big ceiling is sanded, and I had to bleach the like the whole upper portion of the ceiling. They're gonna have to get a new roof and have like a ventilation system put in the roof because the boards get so hot that they sweat.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if the decking is like that 2-inch decking and then the shingles are sitting right on top of it, or if there's, I don't know if there's like a gap, like an attic gap or whatever. But yeah, dude, there's just heat pouring out of those ceilings. So had to bleach all that, but all I have left is to I got to bag off all the beams and double prime and then top coat the ceilings, pull the beams, whitewash all the beams, and then we're down to drywall. So right now I'm like triple booked. I'm juggling 3 jobs. I got Jeremiah's on a 4,000 square foot repaint doing primarily just walls, and I'm jumping over there doing the drywall repairs in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the Centaurian project with the new guy. And then we just started a big 4-story exterior today. Pressure washed it. We'll let it dry for a couple weeks while we try.
Oh, is that one you made the little video on?
Yeah.
It's a big ass house, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably 5 stories off the ground, but I think it's 3 floors, and then there's like a basement floor and then like a gable that pops out over the 3rd floor.
Are you gonna have to use a boom on that one?
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna have to buy or rent a boom for the front. I've got like 2 dog houses. One's like in the center of the roof, and then one is on the front. So I think we're gonna have to get the gable on the front, and then climb the roof and do the doghouse on the roof, and then rappel down the back side. And there's like 2 gable ends that we'll have to hit on the backside. But other than that, I think each floor we can make anchor points and tie off, and then just get up on ladders and reach out above us for the story above.
Have you done rappelling on projects?
Yeah. We'll have to rappel down some roofs and stuff. And in commercial, we'd put up like I-beams and use spiders and stuff, and do like a spider lift down, like like swing staging and shit. And then primarily just boom lifts and shit though.
Yeah. I had to rappel on one project. Man, I don't remember how long ago it was, but I don't know how to set everything up to be able to do it safely, but someone else set it up for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. It's a little scary at first, but it's kind of fun swinging around.
Yeah. I mean, you have to buy like actual climbing gear, so you're tied off from the front, and it's like waist gear and shit.
Yeah.
It's my carabiners, like I look at them like, dude, I don't trust that shit. So
Yeah, I know.
I run 2 carabiners, you know.
Yeah. It's crazy how those guys that climb all the time will trust that shit, or even like the pins they put in for like rock climbing and shit.
Yeah,
Like, dude, I can't see how I would ever trust hammering a pin into like a granite rock. How I'd ever trust that thing's not going to come out if I fall 10 feet.
yeah,
Like how in the, I don't, it doesn't even make sense to me logic wise. I mean, I guess it wedges in there, but dude,
yeah.
I don't know.
It's got to expand or something, dude. I'm too fat
Yeah.
right now to rock climb. I would just fucking die.
You just fall off. That shit scares me. Being vertical, climbing vertical scares me
Yeah,
a lot. Like totally vertical, you know? Scares the shit out of me.
I went to camp in Big Bear when I was a kid
Mm-hmm.
and did some rock climbing and some rappelling.
Yeah.
I got kicked out of the camp though, and then my dad had to drive from Orange County to pick me up, and I sat in an office for like 48 hours in a chair.
Expelled from camp. Man, so how much longer do you have on the Centurion project? It's like a week or two.
I think I can get the ceiling and the beams done in 2 weeks, and then after that, it's priming and painting some drywall. No big deal. Um, but what we'll probably do is pull off for like a week or two while they install flooring, and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably pre-paint the shoe molding.
Yeah.
Um, they'll install, and then we'll putty it and touch it up. So I'll have like a 2 week buffer where I can be somewhere else, and then
Yeah.
I'll probably go back and like load up 3 guys and spend a few days priming and painting the little sheetrock that there is. And then I also have a stair system and handrails and shit that I'm gonna have to sand down, and I think I'm gonna do like a gel stain and just like alter the color, kind of do, like an
Mm-hmm.
antiquing with the gel stain, and then
Yeah.
clear coat the handrail and the stair system. And that'll get me out of having to strip it down to raw wood. And I think the plan is to install like metal treads on the steps. I mean, because
Mm.
you can't, it would be compromised if you were to walk on that. So
Yeah. I was gonna ask, why did you bleach the ceiling?
mold
Oh,
from
okay.
the ceilings getting so hot, and the interior temperature is cooler, and then fucking that roof probably gets 150 degrees.
Yeah, yeah. So you're
So
not
it's
like
just
using wood bleach to like change the color. You're just trying to
no.
get rid of the mold.
I'm just killing mold. I got the ceiling sanded, and I left it like 3 boards down, so I figured I'd hit it with some bleach, and then we'd finish sanding the top of the ceiling.
Yeah, solid. Our projects are all, I mean, pretty much everything we're doing right now is just residential 3, 4, 5 day projects, in and out. We had Friday, we power washed this house in Newport Beach, like right on the water, right on the sand. And one of my guys put the pressure washer too close to a chair, so it fucking melted a hole in, in a chair. So that's our first day on a $10,000 project. It's just not a good look. But I just called the client. I mean, they're really wealthy people. They run a big construction company, and they had their painter was not licensed, and so they canceled the deal with them like last minute. It was something I could fit in, and we're all licensed, workers' comp, everything. And it's a tall house, and they don't want to have any accidents. And if they do have any accidents, they want to be covered. Um, and so when my guy texted me, he's like, "Can you please call me?" So I was like, "Fuck, what's going on?" So I called him up. He's like, "All right, so this thing happened. I'm gonna send you some pictures." I'm like, "Just fucking tell me what it is. Like, don't beat around the bush." He's like, "Well, I burned a hole in a chair." I was like, "Fuck." Sent me pictures. It's like the size of a baseball. So I had to
From
call the
what, like
customer.
the exhaust on the pressure
Yeah,
washer?
yeah,
Oh, nice, yeah.
yeah. Um, which I don't know how you get the pressure washer that close. Like it pretty much has to be on it. Those things are hot to touch, but it's not like if it's 8 inches away, it's probably not going to do anything. Um,
What size pressure washer is it?
It's like I think it's a 3400. It's one of the DeWalt's. It's either 32 or 34. I think it's 34.
3400
Um,
psi.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I had to call the customer, but I think with most customers, if you treat it like it's not a big deal, then they'll treat it like it's not a big deal. If I call her, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm, blah, 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 blah. But if it's like, uh, hey, we had a problem at the job site today. There's one of the chairs in the back. The guys removing the pressure washer, melted the little vinyl off of one of the chairs. So just let me know, where to get a replacement, or if you guys want to find a replacement. It's not bad, but it is a baseball size hole, so we'll definitely replace it. You know what I mean? If it's like,
Is it like full plastic? The whole
it's
chair's
like
plastic?
that vinyl weave, like the vinyl
Oh,
rattan.
oh fuck.
Yeah. So it's like, definitely got to replace it. Um, but I've noticed that if you talk about it like, hey, it's an easy problem to solve, like we're sorry, this kind of stuff happens every now and then, but we'll make sure it's taken care of. Um, Usually they'll follow suit, like they'll match your energy.
Yeah.
Um, the only time when that shit goes wrong, I told you about this. We had a fan that I replaced recently, like 2 weeks ago. Now a fucking chair. Um, the only time when it goes really wrong is if my guys don't tell me that something's broken, and then I find out from the customer that it's broken. That's when it's like kind of hard to dig myself out of a hole sometimes, because then it looks like we're hiding it. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I found this thing broken. It's like, fuck.
Dude, the last time, no, it wasn't the last time I came back to California. I came back and I worked for a small contractor in Huntington for a while, but prior to that, I think I came out when I was like 19, and I was staying in Ventura. And the surf in Ventura never been as good as Huntington,
Yeah.
like everywhere from like Bolsa Chica to fucking south side of the pier was always,
Yep.
usually good,
Mm-hmm.
but I was on my way to work, and I think I got on PCH, and I looked over, and I was like, fuck, dude, it's going off right now. I turned around, went back to the house, got my surfboard, and I went surfing,
Yeah.
and like I never even went to pick up my check.
Yeah.
But fucking
Uh,
I don't know how fucking motivated I think I could have ever been if I fucking did this shit for a living in California.
yeah.
My dad told me in
Yep.
the 70s that all the general contractors would call the surf reports to find out if, they were going to have any
The
work
guys are
that
coming
day.
in.
Yeah.
Dude,
If
that's
this
like, it's amazing. When the waves are good, somehow the beach is packed. Like somehow everybody's just able to take the day off and go surfing. It's
yeah.
crazy.
Out here
Wild.
it's hunting, like during hunting
Mm,
season, like
yeah.
we're like the only ones on the fucking job.
Yeah. I'd like to learn how to hunt. Have you ever hunted?
No, I've killed stuff though.
Yeah. We won't dig into that.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to hunt. Um, I would like to teach my kids how to hunt too, but it's just I don't know if there's a path for that for me in this lifetime. Maybe in my next life.
It'd be a good hobby to I mean, dude, you just research it and stuff. I'd
Yeah.
start out at the shooting range, and you know, I guess once you're like, fuck, I like this, and you can cover yourself in deer piss and go climb around it,
Yeah.
crawl
That's
around in the
about it.
woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Well,
sounds really shitty actually, like camping out and trying to figure it out, maybe not even getting the animals.
there's so many
Um,
deers out here. Like you can cheat. Like you can, just have like you can throw out corn or whatever, like in the woods, and just shoot a fucking deer off your back porch.
yeah.
In some spots, but
That's not quite how I picture it.
yeah.
It's fucking a half-hour hunt.
My stepson shot a deer. He's 9. I think he shot his first deer when he was 8.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it seems fun to me. It seems exciting. All right, so I guess I don't know. We've had a couple of talks about this offline, but the current state of everything right now, as far as the economy goes, is so I think there are recent job reports are up. So basically, like there's a lot of businesses creating jobs right now. So there's like 350,000 new jobs created in May, which seems to be just trying to keep up with demand. There's so much demand still, that people aren't able to fulfill. Probably because all the refinancing, the selling homes, the moving, the you name it, everybody's buying everything still. We're probably on the tail end of it, but that's still going on. So all these companies are having higher demand, having to hire more people to keep up with it. But so since all the jobs are created, the Fed is looking at it and saying, okay, our interest rate increase that we had last month seems to be fine, seems to be not affecting anything. So let's increase it again. Um, the stock market looks at that increase and says, fuck, interest rates are going to go up. This is going to cause all of our investments to go bad. This is going to cause money to slow down, right? People aren't borrowing anymore at higher interest rates, or they're borrowing less. So stock market goes down just from the news. So just when the news came out that job creation looks good, the stock market automatically knows that Fed's going to raise interest rates, and so there was a dip in the stock market just based off that news. It goes down like 5% or whatever. The Fed is saying as long as job creation keeps up, we're going to keep raising the interest rates, possibly through even beyond summertime. Interest rates are going to keep going up. So the balancing act is if they increase interest rates too much and everything tanks, people stop hiring, demand goes down, and then we go into like a legit recession. And I think that's what the stock market is foreseeing, which is why it's all going down. There are like investment companies, big investment funds, $500 billion funds that are down in 2022, like 30, 40, some of them at 50% down from what they were in 2021. So like anybody who's invested right now is like so fucking far down. It's crazy. And the fact that we haven't seen that hit the market yet, how far down everybody is kind of crazy to me. They're saying like people at retirement age right now that are getting ready to retire are going to have to put it off for like another 4 or 5 years to try to recoup everything they lost. If you'd been saving money and like putting it into a 401k or whatever for the last 50 years, and let's say you have $10 million to retire on, like if that shit got cut by 30%, you're down to 7 million. That $3 million is like an extra $15,000 a month. It's like a shit ton of money when it comes to just your investments. It's like a boatload. And we haven't felt any of it yet, which is kind of scary. Everything is more expensive right now. All of the investments are going down. So anybody who made a shitload of money and didn't get out is now losing all that money that they made. And I'm kind of just waiting for the other shoe to drop. What do you think? Like, do you have any plans for the next year or two are you going to do anything differently? Are you preparing? Are you going to try to save some money? What are your thoughts?
I first got I just found out the other day I sat on the phone with the IRS for like 2 hours. I didn't even realize that I owed money for 2018 and 19, but they're small. But yeah, I'm gonna pay off 2018 to 2020. I think here pretty soon. The savings that I have is kind of just backup operational costs. So, dude, I'm not sitting pretty in terms of fucking savings, but I'm working on it.
Yeah.
So like when people talk of like 401k and retirement, dude, I don't have any shit like that, but that's all stuff that's why I started this company, is to start making up, the fact that I spent the majority of my life making other people rich. So,
Yeah.
but if you look at, I mean, you look at like the consequences of 2008, um, especially if you were like in repaints and shit. And well, I mean, I suppose too, like that, general contractors were dropping like flies as well. But,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just chased the economy. So I had a job, doing like government work and shit. And, as soon as Obama took office, you could see like shit happening, and you're like, whoa, wait, this is weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like things starting to shut down, and like the government stuff was starting to fall out. So I bounced out of that. I took a pay cut, a huge pay cut, from 2850 down to like 19.
Mm-hmm.
And started doing like custom homes. I did that for a couple years, custom homes and repaints. And then I went into my business, or went into business for myself, like the first time for like 2 years. So I did that, and then I subbed from another painter, plus did my own jobs. And then I ended up doing like 4 years for that last company that I worked for, and doing back into doing government jobs and stuff. But it was, I don't know, it seems like as soon as Trump took office, like a year into it, like shit just started firing off everywhere.
Yeah.
Gas prices started dropping, people started spending money again, and it was no longer like, you know, like chasing your tail, all those.
Yeah.
Probably, what do you think? This is the majority of that 8 years, dude, was just, I never sat at the house. I don't think I sat at the house. I think the longest I sat at the house was like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Are you
But
talking
that,
about through Trump?
no, through Obama.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I always bounced around making sure, I
Yeah.
stayed busy. But yeah, through Trump, it was, dude, it was like,
Booming.
yeah, I mean, I couldn't not stop.
Yeah, and I don't know if like that is a factor of what Trump did or anything like that, or if it was just right place, right time. He's the guy at that time in the economy, but it was definitely booming pretty much during his whole uh, presidency,
Well,
like booming, booming.
I think some of it, like I saw a company shutting down as soon as Obama took office, and like people were just gearing up for shit to get bad. And so a lot of
Yeah.
it was mind share. And I think the same could be said for Trump. Like I me and my buddy were taking bets. Like he was like a diehard Democrat, and he's like, "There's no fucking way that Trump wins this." And
Yeah.
it's funny because he has a degree in political science or whatever.
Yeah.
And I bet against him, and I bet Trump just because I mean, I didn't give a fuck. I thought at first it was like, dude, Trump. Well, I thought of Trump like Biff from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
You know what I
He
mean?
just got like the almanac.
Yeah,
Figured
dude.
out
He's just Biff from Back to the Future, and he's like
oh
the
shit.
Biff from like the bad part that owns the casino and shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
And fucking, but eventually, once shit's rolling, I was looking at it and I was like, well, shit's getting better. And then you didn't even have to look at Trump and be like, trying to figure out whether or not he was a piece of shit. I started paying attention once I was watching everyone else attack him. And
Yeah.
then that's what got me digging into like the actual details of what he was doing. And pretty much everything coming at him was unjustified. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you look at
Yeah,
Trump, you look at Trump prior to him becoming president, like in terms of how everyone throws around fucking, racist Republican bullshit nowadays, or everything this and that. Like the dude had his hand deep in helping the black community for fucking years and years and years, dude.
Yeah.
And I think everything that was thrown at him was unjustified. And you even look at the fucking Russiagate thing, dude. And this is a proven fact. Turns out that it was fucking the Clintons that were doing that shit. You know what I mean? they were spying on his fucking campaign. And it's just the fucking far left media, dude. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It, Obama made it legal. What year was it? Was it 2013 or something like that? He made it legal to be able to use propaganda in the United States.
Yeah.
Do you
I
remember
don't
what
know.
you know what bill I'm talking about?
No, I don't know anything about that stuff. But I do know that Trump was like a business first kind of guy, and I think mostly selfishly, but I think that helped out everybody else too. That's in business, He had a lot of laws and tax loopholes that were in favor of businesses, um, which some people think that's really bad, to give loopholes for companies and corporations. But I think it stimulates the economy,
Yeah.
so depending on where you stand on that, I guess, I don't know, good or bad thing, but definitely boomed the economy. That's for sure.
Dude, at first I was like, there's no fucking way this rich douchebag fucking Biff is going to give a fuck about the middle class. But, and I never understood it at first, like all of these middle class people and rural people voting for Trump. I
A
didn't under,
ton. Yeah.
I didn't understand why they were doing that. And, probably halfway through his term, I started paying closer attention and it started making sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all,
I
all
mean,
that.
all over here. Yeah. All over through like Newport Beach, Huntington Beach, all these coastal cities. Like there's Trump flags everywhere still.
Yeah.
Now
I,
there's
dude,
all the Trump 2024 flags up.
I don't even think it's about Trump anymore, dude. It's more about
Right.
when are people gonna look
Yeah.
and realize that this whole fucking Marxist ideology, uh, and look at the fact that the Democrat Party has gone fucking insane, and they are literally trying to destroy this country. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but they are
It
doing this
seems
shit on
that way.
purpose. I don't know why they're
It
doing
sure,
it.
yeah, it's really hard to see it any other way with everything that goes on. Like, I don't know, it's creepy when you look at some of these old books or old reports about like what would be the best way to control a civilization. And it talks about like like all the woke stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
It
dude.
like lists out everything that's happening right now. It's kind of
There's
creepy.
literature on all this stuff, like all this Marxist ideology and the socialism, and the fact that people are talking about this democracy and blah blah blah. When we're actually founded on a constitutional republic and stuff,
Yeah.
and all of this stuff is, I think it's a false flag. Everything that's going on, personally. I don't know why. Is it the fact that the corporations lobby to the politicians and they want to tank the economy, inflate everything, that way they're making billions of dollars while we freaking starve out? I don't know what the plan is. I don't know why it's happening, but it's for sure on purpose. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that can pretty much be fucking established, dude.
Yeah.
Like if you read
So,
every little detail about every little thing, it makes zero sense.
yeah. I'm in a position where, or I take the position of, if I'm not going to do anything about it, then I don't really think about it.
Yeah.
So I have some friends that are hardcore and deep into it, and it's like, man, everything looks fucked. But they also stress about it. They worry about where things are going and all that.
Yeah.
And for me, if I were going to take it on and worry about it, then I'd probably become like one of these protesters, or I'd do something about it. But if I'm not going to do anything about it, then I don't want to have it weighing me down either. So
Yeah.
I'm like a ignorance is bliss kind of person.
I read up into it, and I think about, you know, I'm obviously not going to go. I have to go to work, dude, so I'm not going to
Yeah.
be protesting or whatever, but
Yeah.
when shit does hit the fan, I will be fucking, once I'm not allowed to work or I'm not allowed to fucking breathe air, that's when I start to get pissed.
Yeah. And so like that thought is in the back of my mind now these days, right? Where it's like, things could get really weird. I mean, they already are, but they could get really bad. I think pretty easily, relatively easily. Here they're talking about, we're going to have rolling blackouts this summer here in Southern California. Um, we're
And the
like facing a
monkeypox.
really big drought right now. Yeah, monkeypox is like the least of our concerns right now, but we've got a really big drought coming in right now. All of the lakes are like significantly lower than they should be. Lake Mead, I think it's in Lake Mead. They found a couple bodies because the water level is so low. So I guess, people have been dumping bodies in that lake and now they're just popping up because the water level's dropping so much.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. But I think for me, I want to be prepared going into the next couple years. I think this year is going to finish out fine. Maybe not a great year, but mostly fine. But I think next year's going to suck. I think next year's going to be rough because I think
Yeah.
this year everybody still has enough money left from all the refinancing. They have, like if you were any kind of decent business person the last 2 years, you made a lot of money. Like you made excess money. If you capitalized at all on the demand and the lack of supply, then you made a lot of money. We made a lot of money in the last couple of years. But it's because we're able to ramp up on short notice. We're able to take advantage of all the business that's around.
Yeah. Dude,
And so we could
I
save
think
money and cruise.
me and
Mhm.
Jeremiah, I haven't, looked at the numbers completely, but I've been going through fucking QuickBooks trying to get it all figured out. My old lady does that, so, and
Mhm.
she just hits me up like asking me questions and stuff. I'm gonna end up having to do all that shit myself next year, I think. But
Yeah.
um
I can help you with that. I do almost all of it myself.
yeah, I think I'm gonna get a new computer here pretty soon and give my current Mac to my stepdaughter, but and I'm gonna have to switch out of. I purchased the hard copy where you only have access on your
Yeah.
computer, but I think I'm gonna have to purchase a copy where my accountant can access my account and shit, and just have the online version. But I
That's what we
think
do, online version.
I'm thinking me and Jeremiah probably did like anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 more than me, Jeremiah, and Raymond did the year prior.
Yeah. 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 I mean, even if you sell the same amount of work, you're doing it at a higher price, just because you can. Like, um, we increased our prices quite a bit before we did an overhaul on raises for our painters. Um, and that wasn't to be stingy or anything. It was like I mean, our guys are getting paid well already, but our big raises came because like all of their expenses are going through the roof. So it's like in order to try to fucking keep them surviving at least, man. Our
Yeah.
gas here is like $6.50 to $7 a gallon.
Dude, when I
We don't
bid
have to
this
drive that far, but
I bid this fucking
still.
exterior, and like the my lift rental's like 130% more than when I bid
Yeah.
it.
What? Yeah. Our lift prices here went from like usually around 900 to 1,000 for a week to what was it? 3,000 I sent to you?
Dude, yeah, it's stupid. It's like
2,900?
yeah, like $2,800.
That's
My
fucking
mine
crazy.
jumped from like 740 to 1830 or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nuts. And their expenses haven't gone up significantly. I mean, it's like their labor I'm sure has gone up, but it's probably a tiny amount. They're just raising their prices because of supply and demand. And then the whole idea of inflation has caused businesses to raise their prices because you can, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're selling something for $1,000 and everybody knows that prices are going up, even if your labor only increased like 10%, um, on that $1,000 item, that 10% on labor is like, $30, but you could raise it 500 and now you're selling it for 1,500 because everybody knows, well, prices are going up. What are you going to do? Right? Like now's the perfect time to raise your prices on everything. Like the 99-cent store, this is a perfect time for them to get off at 99 cents and make it a, $1.99 store. Um, just because in everybody's heads, it's like, yeah, well, everything's going up. Gas is more expensive. Milk is more expensive. It is what it is.
I asked a kid that was bagging my groceries at the grocery store the other day what he was making,
Mm-hmm.
and or no, I asked him what's starting pay here, and he said 13.50. And then I was like, well, what do you make? And he's like, well, I haven't been here very long, and I make 17.50. I'm like,
Yeah.
motherfucker, dude, to bag groceries.
Yeah.
And you got to understand, my minimum wage here is fucking. I don't even know if I would have to look it up. I don't even think it's more than like 11 something.
Yeah.
I think it's like 10.95 or some shit.
Yeah. I think ours is like 15, something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and that's another side of it is like, so everybody's paying more for labor right now. Everybody's hiring painters for more money starting, um, giving raises to their current employees. Do our prices just stay this high forever now? Like are all the companies out there who have raised their prices, raised their pay for their employees, are they able to adjust down? Like so right now if I sell a project for $10,000 in 2 years when shit is going really sideways, can I do that same job for 8 grand or not? Like do we all get stuck because now we've built our business around these higher prices which are maybe not long-term prices? Does our market shrink because now only some people can afford that? Right. Whereas, so the whole thing, like through 2008, and I think the last 2 years, is even average people have lots of extra spending money, because average people, if they own a home, had a huge increase in their home value and refinanced money. There's like some $500 billion in refinancing done in the last 2 years, like some ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
So it all just got pumped into everyone's bank accounts. Um, and then 9 trillion pumped in through printed money from the government, right? So all this money still is getting filtered out. The half a trillion dollars in refinancing, I think we still have another year before that, like, you know uh is squandered away. Then we're going to hit the real shit when the people are not relying on that extra money anymore. And it's like, oh shit, well, we really got to tighten up. We can't live the way we've been living the last couple of years,
Yeah.
tighten everything up. You can't refinance again because now interest rates are high. Your home value probably comes down some. And I don't think that the home values are going to crash, but I think they're definitely going to normalize. Like home values everywhere right now are sky high, but it's because there's so much demand and not enough supply.
Here's what I think. I don't think there's going to be like, and I could be wrong on this, but this is my projection. I don't think so. When building starts tanking, I think this time versus the housing market falling out, I think commercial is going to fall out first.
Yeah.
I think government funded jobs, schools, jails, fucking hospitals, blah blah blah. I think that shit's gonna crash first because if you look, we're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. You look at this current gun situation, like they're having Senate hearings and stuff and talking about banning
Hmm.
certain magazine sizes to certain guns, which would essentially make all the guns they're talking about useless.
Yeah.
Versus putting like security, like retired military, stuff like that, inside of schools and actually
Yeah.
spending money to fix the solution.
Yeah.
So they're obviously not wanting to spend money on, government funded things, but they're willing to send money to other countries. I don't fucking understand it.
It's insane to me that we can't keep our fucking schools safe for kids. That's insane to me. I
Yeah, dude.
don't understand it at all.
It's fucking simple, dude. That you look at the, You look at what cities have the most violent crimes. They're the
Mm.
fucking cities that have the strictest gun laws or have
Yeah.
bans,
Yeah.
you know. And then it's a simple solution. You take a soft target and you turn it into a fucking hard target if you don't want people to fucking go in there. This last school,
But Texas is pretty free gun laws, right?
yes,
I
but if
mean,
you
they're
that there there's some weird shit going on with that one. If you ask me, dude, like
yeah, yeah.
the cops are fucking
There was weird shit. Yeah.
setting up a perimeter outside of the school. They're putting moms in handcuffs that are trying to go in the school, and
Yeah.
and active shooters in the fucking school for fucking like 50 fucking minutes or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck it was without anyone going in there. It turned out to be a fucking off-duty border patrol agent that got a shotgun from a fucking citizen and went in there, got his kids out, and then went and back in and took out the fucking shooter. Now, you can't
Yeah.
quote me on that. That's just shit that I've read. I don't blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Yeah.
But it sounds fucking pretty goddamn fishy to me, dude.
Yeah. 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 It does seem like a lot of weird shit went on about that. And I don't know enough about it to really comment on it.
You,
But it's just fucking surprising to me that we cannot keep our kids safe this day and
some
age.
some of the shit that's going on, like that feels like it's like we talked about before, that how could they not be doing this shit on purpose? But fucking
Right.
dude,
Yeah.
the FBI does fucked up shit, dude. Like our government
Yeah.
is documented doing fucked up shit and experimenting on the fucking on our
Yeah.
on the citizens. And
So was there? I don't know what it was, but there it must have been some kind of like a law change or something like that. But where they have to release information every so often after a certain amount of years,
yeah,
classified becomes declassified. Um, but yeah, there's like legitimate cases and
yeah,
actual testing that like the CIA does on people. There's like all these
yes,
operations that are like fucking giving people drugs, see how they react,
they
like
just
really weird shit.
resealed the fucking JFK documents because
Again?
yeah, that
Oh
somebody in our
man.
government is responsible for that fucking assassination. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
Well,
crazy.
look at the fucking look at Pfizer, dude. I think they're trying to
Yeah.
make it to where you can't look at their documents for what is it, like? Is it 40 years or 60 years or some
Hmm.
shit? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? In
It's crazy.
relation to the vaccines, they're
Yeah.
trying to have all that shit sealed, and then they're not liable for any vaccine injuries and stuff like that. Like,
Yep.
dude, this no shit is fucking weird, dude. I
Yeah.
don't give a
Yeah.
fuck what anybody says.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't, it's like, well, like I said before, I like to not think about it, I guess. Ignorance is bliss to me.
Yeah.
I do worry about if the consequences come, how bad will they be? But it's like you can't, in our modern history or our modern era, you can't really go back and point to a time when everything fucking fell apart, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's hard to believe that we're at that point now where everything's going to fall apart. But there's a lot of shit lined up to be able to like have everything fall apart. Like it's real. Even when all the protesting was happening for the George Floyd case. Um, like once all the riots and stuff started or protests, uh, it got real weird for a while there. It was like looting. There was a lot of looting around here, even in areas that we used to go to quite a bit, high end areas. Um, they couldn't do shit. Like there was no stopping looters. There was no stopping rioting. Places are burning down. That was like the first time when it's like, all right, well, we got to get a gun or something. Like,
Yeah.
we're worried about the
Look
area
at
we live in is a nicer area, and it's like, dude, we'll be targets.
look at the little details into that shit though. If you look at a lot of a lot of people like African Americans that are fucking pay attention to shit, they realize like, hey, this isn't what they say that it is. Those the fucking people running that show, like
Yeah.
the lady doing the books was fucking pardoned by Clinton, and she, you know what I mean? She was imprisoned in the 70s for bombing the Capitol. And then you have our current Democrats talking about how January 6th was the biggest tragedy in American history.
Yeah.
Well, look at all the details on that. You've got Antifa members changing underneath a tree into fucking MAGA gear. You've
There was a
got,
lot of weird
yeah,
shit with
you've
that, where
got,
like
yeah,
who
dude.
was somebody was interviewing, maybe it was like Ted Cruz interviewing the CIA or something like that, asking him like direct questions about, like, did the CIA have any involvement? And they're like, we cannot answer
I
that.
think
Like,
the
fuck.
FBI did for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
You
It's
got
like, come
cops
on, man.
opening barriers. You've
Yeah.
got camera footage from inside of dudes like looking like, waving their
Yeah.
hand and getting the door buzzed open and then letting
Yeah.
fucking crowds of people in.
It's
And then you've got
crazy.
the video of guys just walking around with American flags like they're fucking tourists.
Yeah, yeah,
This is what I think.
yeah,
I think there is a lot of dumbass motherfuckers that went there that
yeah.
were just kind of following a line and probably shouldn't have went in the fucking Capitol.
Right.
But the
Yeah.
Democrats kind of set that up to to make it look worse than it really was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There was a lot of people very motivated to get Trump out of office and to get him. I mean,
Yeah.
I think he pretty much spent his whole term like defending himself of getting impeached, like
Yeah, dude.
almost his whole term,
And it
and there I
turns
think
out
multiple attempts.
that the Russian fucking bullshit was, like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was the other side that was fucking conspiring. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, dude, give
Hmm.
me a fucking break. Have you seen that 2000 Mules yet?
No.
Yeah, I haven't watched it, but supposedly they've got like they purchased thousands of like cell phone information, and they have video documentation of just hundreds of thousands of fake ballots being just dumped into the boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
But
All that
yet
stuff's crazy too.
they're pushing hard, dude, to cover all that up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, I was trying. What was I talking about? I was jumping on what I think is going to happen and what my plan is. I think that commercial is going to fall first versus
Hmm.
residential this time. I think the housing market has to pop eventually,
Yeah.
and when it does, you're right. Like all these homeowners and shit, like, dude, the value of their houses fucking doubled, and they
Yeah.
sold them and moved other places, or sold them and got a condo, and
Yep.
everyone's sitting on money right now, and people are spending money, which helps us because people that spend money, invest into maintaining their properties and shit like that. So
Yep.
now is a good time to be doing repaints. So that
Hmm.
was kind of how I've built my business, like with doing the videos and
Yeah.
whatever, like building it inside out to try and market and advertise and do the hard thing first, because the
Yeah.
easy thing is walking into a job trailer and fucking saying you'll do
Right.
something for cheaper, right? So my
Yep.
plan is to ride this shit out as long as I absolutely can, and
Hmm.
then when people start dropping like fucking flies, that's when I will start considering, like, okay, well, fuck, we might have to do some cheap production. Maybe there's some fucking, a cheap housing development, being built or something, and fucking we'll break out the fucking 230 and go prime fucking, 10
Right.
houses a day or whatever the fuck we got to do, and that's when I'll start looking at being cheaper if I fucking have to be. But right now, I'm gunning for the larger money.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's wise right now. I mean, everybody should be doing that. Um, and
I'm
if
hoping,
possible,
I'm hoping that
yeah,
when shit falls out, that I can start doing both. Maybe I'll
yeah,
find a new custom home. Maybe I'll do an apartment complex. Maybe I'll do some track houses. Maybe I'll, have a few repaints coming in here and there. But I think it's going to largely fall out, all of it.
Now, what do you think happens to all the landlords who have jacked up their rent prices? Do they end up having to lower them?
I think that they will. Well, the people that fucking own real estate still or whatever, I think that they will ride it out, and I think like people that rent will probably fuck it. There will be a lot of people on the streets and shit because they're not going to be able to afford it, and that kind of falls into like what we've discussed, like um, once the economy starts to settle down and we start to merge into a full recession, which is going to happen, dude, we could end up in like a
Mhm.
full on depression, in my opinion. But
Yeah,
um,
that can definitely happen. That's
I
the fear, is that in like a year is we
yeah,
get into a full on depression.
I think people will stop eating out as much. I think,
I think
like
that's already happening.
we discussed
Yeah.
like the whole thing with like the fast food. I think those robot arms are going to be done in a few years,
Yep.
and all these people that are have they've jacked up all the prices, like they're eventually, these companies aren't going to want to fucking pay for the labor, and they're going to start
Hmm.
replacing people with automation. So I think things are going to slowly start transitioning from, like here on out, it's going to start dipping, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
um
I'm looking at robots for painting already. They just don't have any good ones on the market yet.
dude,
I can
there's
get
no
some
fucking
robots
way.
out there, a robot team. I mean, I could put together, a good chunk of change. Like we spend fucking, I don't know, 15 to 20 grand a week in payroll. If I could save up a year's worth of money, a year's worth of payroll money, and spend $1 million on a machine that'll paint houses, it's not, doesn't look too bad.
No, I don't think that's
Unfortunately,
possible.
no, I don't either.
No, I
Unfortunately.
don't think it will ever be fucking possible. um you to a fucking certain extent, maybe you would be able to have like a robot arm that could, automatically go up and like fucking spray out a fucking wall or something, but it would be extremely expensive, and I don't think any company would. I don't like, you're not going to have a fucking robot that's going to be able to caulk fucking lap siding. You know what I
Right.
mean? I
I
just
don't
don't.
think, yeah, I don't think the future is robots being able to do painting like we do. I think it's way too much of a problem to solve, way too much trouble to solve that problem. I think it's going to turn into, we make items that don't need paint anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
or like
our
you.
interior walls are like digital,
Yes,
right? You
like
just fucking change the colors whenever you want. You have a programmer come in and they change your colors and change
yeah,
your sheen and shit
like
like that, where it's
oh,
just all digital.
OLED like accent walls,
Yeah.
like organic light
Yep.
emitting diodes that are fucking
Yeah.
bendable, and like you can have like a scenery on a wall, like almost like wallpaper where you
Yeah.
paste it out,
Absolutely.
or
There'll be
you
little
like,
panels.
yeah,
Yeah.
painting on a wall, like maybe everything is white, and then you have fucking like like digital displays that
Yeah.
shoot lights at the walls to change the colors or
Right.
whatever. Just
Yeah. I mean,
maybe.
that's going to be a big expense up front, but um, it's one time deal, and then it's just maintenance on your machinery.
Yeah.
But that's the future I see more so than robots being able to paint, because it's what we do is way too hard. It's way too artistic to map out, to be able to code for.
I think we're
Uh,
more than likely to, the government take away all of our fucking weapons and enslave us, and then just clone people for fucking jobs.
mhm. Yeah. There's gonna be like 50 clones of us out there just fucking
Yeah.
working their asses off for free. We're not real people. It's crazy. Yeah, I think the interior spaces, making them all digital, is totally doable, and I think it'll be exterior too. Tesla does the solar roof, and it looks like roof tiles. They're all solar panels, but they're in the shape of roof tiles, and so it looks like just a regular roof. It just has a little sheen to it, but it's not a roof. It's actually solar panels. And I think the same thing will happen on exterior. Like your siding is going to be, I don't know, something digital. Your trim will be digital. Like it's just going to be, like that. I don't know, 15 years ago when somebody had a flat screen TV and then you had the 4K was like fucking, $10,000 for a 60-inch TV. Now it's like $1,200 for that same TV. I think that's going to be
Yeah.
how your exterior digital panels are going to be, like $150,000. When they first come out, with zero maintenance, change the color every day if you want, change your paint exterior 100 times a year if you want to. and then
I th-
eventually it's going to be 15 grand.
I think UV would ruin that though. I think it would be more. You'd be more likely to have some type of projector that like mounts to your soffits that
Yeah,
projects
but then you
different.
have to maintain whatever the panel is on the house. But what
Yeah,
about the solar panels? How often do those need to be changed?
I have no idea. Are solar panels even affordable now? You know?
I mean, they make them affordable because you make payments on them, right? Like most
Yeah,
of the ones that get done, it's like, oh, it'll cost you less than electricity. Well, it's like, okay, if you're paying $200 a month now in electricity,
but
we'll put
but
solar
then
panels on. You can just pay us 150 a month.
you look at shit too that, but it kind of falls back into the way things are right now. Like they jack up the prices, the corporations make fucking billions, and middle class people can barely fucking survive.
Yeah,
Well, I seen a dude talking about solar like in California. Like he got covered his whole house in solar, and eventually he started making money, and the electric company was having to pay him.
right.
And then he said, a few years down the road that the electric company changed their policies, and now
Yeah,
he's back up to paying the electric company like $300 a month.
yeah.
So like,
They did make some changes. So they increased their rates recently. They like almost doubled here recently. Here's the thing that really bothers me about this stuff is it's like, so electric company is making less money because more people are using solar. Um, electric company can just increase their rates to make up their losses, right? So all they do is now bump up their rates to everyone else because we don't have a choice but to pay Edison, SoCal Edison. Um, we just have to pay whatever they want us to pay. They're not getting smarter. They're not doing solar. They're not figuring out new ways to get cheaper energy. They're just they don't have to do anything. They fucking lose money because they're getting beat out by a better business. Um, and all they have to do is increase their rates.
I
It's crazy.
remember being out here like in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think it was, and I was talking to my grandfather, and I was for the longest time like rented old shitty houses out here.
Hmm.
Gets super hot in the summer, you got to run AC, fucking super cold in the winter. um and fucking a lot of the houses I've lived in, I've had to burn wood and stuff like that, to try and
Yeah.
get my electric bills down. But like that, dude, there's places I've rented where I've been like four, five, six, $700 a month in electricity. And
Yeah.
during that time, I'd talk to my grandfather and be like, what do you, and I told him that, and he's like, what, how is that? And I was like, what do you pay? And, cause he had electricity and gas, cause California is all natural gas. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, my gas bill's like $8 a month. And I'm like, what? How much is your electric? And he's like, it's about $23 a month. And I'm like, what? I'm fucking paying like $700 a month, dude.
Yeah.
But is that still how it is nowadays out there?
Yeah. So
Like,
our gas bill is super cheap. Well, relatively cheap, 30, $40. And a lot of what we use runs off of gas. Like our electric bill, we have air conditioning. Not a lot of houses here have it because usually pretty moderate temperature. Um, so your bill, like, yeah, I mean, a lot of the houses run off of the gas. So all the hot water, your stove. Um, I guess that's all the major electricity you would use besides TVs and lights, but that's not that much. Um, but like some of my employees, it's like their electric bill was 80 or $90 a month, and now it's like 180. It just doubled.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's I think a
I
high electric bill is over a couple $100.
I need to look at mine because like a cheap electric bill here is like $200 a month.
No shit.
Yeah,
I think 200. I guess it depends on how big the house is, but I think now a cheap one is going to be like in the 180 to 200 range. But I think if you're like in the 3, 4, 500 range, it's because you're heating a pool. Like you're using a serious amount of electricity.
yeah.
But I think for a normal household where it's just lights, um, lights and TVs and stuff like that, you're $100, $150.
There's no natural gas here because everything is limestone, and when they
Hmm.
build, they gotta like blow shit up,
Yeah.
So, um, they can't run natural gas lines through everything and just blow shit up all over the place. So,
No shit.
um,
Hmm.
uh, I think there might be some natural gas in Springfield, which is an hour north of us, but everything out here is like electric and propane is
Hmm.
fucking expensive, dude.
Yeah. How interesting. I'd never even considered that. So in Big Bear, our place up there is gas up there, but a lot of people use propane still. I think that maybe they're older homes or something, but they didn't switch over. But it's interesting. I didn't know why, but they sell a lot of propane up there, and you're not allowed to do like fire. You're not allowed to do propane barbecues up there because
Yeah.
of fire hazard. So yeah, I didn't know what they were using it for. I think it's for houses though.
Yeah. So there's like actual like demolition companies and stuff out here. So like if they got to build a road and they got to, go through a mountain, they got to, or carve an area out of the limestone, all that shit gets blown up. If they are
Hmm.
building a housing development like on a cliff, like everything gets blown up and shit.
Hmm.
So,
Crazy. Wow. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that my thought for like the next 2 years is that this year is mostly going to be fine, but everything's going to be tightening up. I think it's just I don't see how the stock market goes up this year. Um, so over the last 2 years, there were a ton of companies that did special acquisitions. I don't know what it stands for, but these companies that went public with short notice and then basically just had everybody bid on. There would be a company, a Morgan Stanley or something like that, that would take them public, set a price, and then let everybody bid it up. Um, and so all these random companies would go public and have their stock price shoot through the roof. Everybody's investing in it now that it's a $10 billion company. Um, all those companies have been like fucking dying this last 6 months. None of them can get investment money anymore. Um, all their stocks are crashing, right? There's a lot of tech stocks right now that are crashing. Crypto's way down. All the standard typical companies are way down. Um, it's like very obvious that the money is drying up. It's very obvious that the market is timid right now, but we don't see it yet in the spending. So it's like, when is it going to come, and how bad is it going to be? I think are the only questions. Um, my thought is it's going to be maybe end of this year. I don't know if it's going to be in 2022, but it'll definitely be in 2023. And as far as how bad it is, I really don't know. I don't think it's going to be. Um, I don't think it's going to affect housing the way that it did in 2008 because it's a different kind of problem. But something's going to happen to the people that bought a house for $1 million. They're renting it out for 6,500 a month. Um, what's going to happen to that person when it's like their third house and they can't get 6,500 a month for it anymore? They lower it to 6,000, to 5,500, to 5,000. Now they can't get their mortgage covered by a renter. Do they foreclose on it? Do they short sell it? Do they what do they do with that property? Because I think there's going to be a lot of those properties.
yeah.
Like I think short selling and foreclosures are going to start happening a lot. I don't think at the rate. I hope not at the rate of 2008, but it's got to happen though. I mean, I know people that have like fucking three houses they bought in Big Bear to turn them all into Airbnbs.
Yeah, and you got
It's
to
like,
think too, those corporations that are fucking like BlackRock or whatever, that are running around buying up all the real estate and then jacking rent prices up. Like
yeah,
when the economy does crash and whether people can't afford to pay their progressive note and they fucking lose
Yeah.
their houses, or if they're on a fixed rate and they're good, whatever. But like, does rent keep going up? Does it stay the same? Does it drop? But you got to think that those predatory companies like BlackRock buying real estate are not going
Mhm.
to lower rent, and there's going to be a lot of people on the streets and shit.
Yeah. If you're the landlord, though, let's say you bought 3 houses over the last 2 years because money was cheap to borrow, right? Interest rates were super low. Um, you have extra cash because business is going well. So let's say you bought 3 homes in the last 2 years. Um, you were able to rent them way above like what you could have 2 years ago. So let's say you have three $500,000 houses. The mortgage on it's probably $2,500, and you can rent it for 4,000 right now, 4,000 a month. So, for the last year, you've been making an extra 1,500 a month on each one of these properties, which is fantastic, right? You look like a real estate genius, because you came into this market. That's how it was in 2006, seven. Is everyone who had a bunch of houses looked like geniuses? Like, fuck, how did you time the market? Tell me your secrets, right? And then those same guys are fucking getting foreclosed on in 2008, 2009, losing their boats, losing their cars. um, so right now you have 3 properties, all $500,000 each, and you're clearing an extra 5 grand a month. Positive cash flow from your rentals. So let's say 2023 comes around, and now nobody's paying that because they can get your same house for fucking $2,500 a month rent. What do you do with those 3 properties? Like, do you come down instead of 4,000 a month, you're down to 3,500 trying to get bites? If that doesn't work, you go down to 3,000 trying to get bites. Like, there's some point where you can't cover the mortgage payment from the rent, And so let's say you get 3,000 a month on each of these properties, and your mortgage is 2,500 each, so you're positive $500 a month on each one. But let's say you got to put a new roof on one of them, and that's going to be 20 grand. Your 500 extra per month is not going to cover your $20,000 roof. So now you're either financing that roof, or you're borrowing money, or you're putting it on a credit card or whatever. Like, that shit gets out of hand really quickly. And if you don't have this big positive cash flow, do you foreclose on those properties? Do you short sell them? Like, what do what's the move? Because I think that's going to happen all over the place. There's people
Yeah.
that moved into your area that jacked up uh, house values, that jacked up landlord rent amounts. Like, that's everywhere that's happened in the United States. Everywhere rent is more, everywhere home values are more. So what
Yeah.
happens when everything tightens up a little bit?
I'm watching them build fucking houses. They're like, they overlook the lake or whatever.
Yeah.
And, they're nice, but you got to understand, I don't know how it is out there, but every custom home builder, if you pre-screen somebody and, well, I'm looking for a painter, and,
Yeah.
well, what type of house do you build? And they'll say custom, and you'll fucking go do it. And it's fucking, they might as well have told me fucking spec home. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they don't give a fuck, dude.
Yep.
But, MDF and pre-primed pine and shitty drywall, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
And nothing's impressive and everything's disorganized and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so there's some places being built over on the lake, and they're like $1,000,000, right? Which maybe, if I were to go back like 5 years, 6 years, maybe, I really couldn't see those things being any more than 300 grand a piece. You know what I
It's
mean?
nuts. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't like, my market's all fucked up too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm looking at like a $300,000 house, $350,000 house is now like a $900,000 house. And
Yeah. These places in Big Bear. So the place that we bought, you can see when it was last purchased what the purchase price was. They made $150,000 in 1 year. Right?
yeah,
They bought the place a year ago, sold it for 150,000 more, and it was like a quick sale. You know, it's
Yeah.
like it's not there. The increases have been so high so quickly that I mean, it has to come back down, right? Like either the prices have to come down, or there's going to be, like you said, a lot of people in the streets.
Yeah.
And how does everything look if that happens? You know, what if like all the middle class is just homeless? You
Yeah.
know, like what the fuck happens then? I've got a buddy who's a developer, and they've got a big company here in Newport, and he said he hasn't bought a home in like 6 months. You know, like they buy places, basically bulldoze them, and then build up like nice ass brand new houses and sell them for a profit. Um, but he's like, we can't get anything at a decent price right now. Nothing. It's like dirt everywhere is so fucking expensive right now. We can't get anything that we'd be able to build on it and make a profit because
Yeah.
everything is so high priced. So companies like that, you know, that are doing spec homes, they're going to dry up, you know, because what are they going to buy? They're going to have to wait until everything starts short selling again. Um, so what happens to all their business and all the people that are employed by them? I don't know.
Yeah, and those $1 million homes that you walk into, and they, hey, let's hire the painter, and like, I spent 5 or 600 grand building this place. Let's find somebody that will paint it for 8 grand and just fucking destroy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
And but then there's like the even like what would be considered a fucking spec home, like some really shitty builders here that just throw houses up, and even those fucking houses are like 200-300 fucking $1,000, dude. And you're
Yeah.
talking the kind of paint jobs that you walk into, and like the fucking doors have been like brand new fucking pre-prime doors have been like rolled
Yeah.
sideways and shit
Yeah.
with like fucking property solutions and shit like that,
Yeah.
dude.
Yep. Yeah. I don't want to end this thing on all doom and gloom. What's the positive side to all this? It'll be a good reset.
Fuck.
Get all the new shitty companies back out of business. Um, so
Yeah.
in 2008, 2009, 2010, there was a huge change here in painting companies, probably all tradesmen, really, trades companies, and general contractors. So general contractors got hit the hardest and the quickest. Nobody was spending 100 grand on a remodel, you know, just like all that shit went away. Um, we stayed busy because everybody would still pay 5 grand to do a paint job, like a mini remodel, right? But everybody got tighter with, well, they were just more picky, more choosy, and they would wait for somebody who was better. And so all of these little companies just disappeared like almost overnight. All these little painting companies that were kind of just undercutting everybody were just gone so quickly. And I think that undercutting now is going to get really bad at the end of this year and into the beginning of next year before all those people decide, fuck this, I'm going to go work for someone else.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be a point where they have to cut their losses.
If I put on, like, the way I see it or whatever, the positive side is if I put on, a guy or two,
Mm-hmm.
and as shit starts to crumble, like, I'm not, dude, I'm fucking firing everybody, dude,
Yeah.
and I will fucking, you know, try and keep my brother busy,
Mm-hmm.
and just, you know, we'll just work
Yeah,
by
but you do the
ourselves.
kind of
But
projects. Yeah, you do the kind of projects where you could stay busy. Like you don't have to do that many jobs in a year to have a good year. You know, like
yeah,
some of these jobs you're doing are pretty big and they last a while.
yeah,
If you
like
get on a job that lasts a month, you only need 12 jobs, you know, for your
60,
whole year. Yeah.
spent $60,000 interiors and stuff, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
50,000 dollar exteriors. So I mean, we're doing, we're doing decent paying jobs right now
Yeah.
and especially for my area,
Yeah.
um, and I'll people. The thing with like what I'm doing is like I will like everybody will fucking undercut me or whatever. So I
Yeah.
have to figure out how to sell trust and how to sell experience and all that stuff, and I have to figure out how to sell a higher no how to knowingly sell a higher price.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think we had talked about doing a podcast on that, about the psychology behind that and around it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we'll dive into that, but 100%. So that's going to be real important, I think, too, towards the end of this year and into next year. Is how can you keep your prices high? How do you sell that?
But
Like,
I'm,
because for someone like you, it is trust.
we're also the motherfuckers that can, like, if push comes to shove, dude, I'll put my production against any fucking buddies, and not only will it go up faster, but it'll go up cleaner. So
Yeah,
I'm really not trying to do that shit right now, but that's what I'm waiting for is, like I said, to, hopefully I can keep the repaints going, but when push comes to shove, and if we have to make sacrifices, dude,
yeah,
I will underbid you and I will get it done faster and cleaner if I
yeah,
fucking have to, like,
yep,
but I
yeah, and
really
that's the
hope it,
thing.
I hope it doesn't fucking come to that because I hate, you know, I like the work, dude. And I like, that it's so fast paced and
Yeah,
you're constantly moving that you don't get bored, but
mhm,
I don't want to fucking live that life anymore,
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up on that note. But yeah, I think
Oh,
we will do a
no,
deep dive.
no,
What do you got?
I got more. I was, but dude, I've been getting phone calls. Like, it's starting to piss me off, but like, I'll get fucking, and for the longest time, I had, who some of those lead generating services, like what's the
Angie's
main ones?
List,
No, like the main,
Thumbtack,
no, like the ones that are
no,
actually,
Home Advisor,
yes, Home
Net.
Advisor, dude. So I was getting phone calls from Home Advisor. This was like 3 years ago, and I
Mhm.
acted like, because I didn't know about it, right? And then I did some research. I told them I might do it, and they called me back. And then I told them, I was like, dude, I've read up into you guys, and it seems like, um, you guys fucking like generate fake leads and
Yeah,
have people fucking bidding on the same jobs and yada yada. I'm like, I don't like the sound of it. I'm not going to do that. And they
yeah,
kept, you know they're like, okay, whatever, but they kept fucking calling me back, and I ended up getting pissed because they wouldn't stop fucking calling me. So
yeah,
I put my headphones in, and I kept this dude on the phone for like an hour and a half, just working and like leading him on. I'm
yeah,
just cutting and rolling, and I'm just talking to this dude, wasting his
yeah.
fucking time, like they've been doing with
Done to
me.
you, yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end of the call, I told him what I did,
Yeah.
and anyway, after I did that, I started getting like phone calls from like this chick, and it
Mhm.
sounded like, I started recognizing after a while that it was the same chick's voice, and then I fucking called her out because it was a chick from Home Advisor, and she was pretending to be a customer asking if I wanted to bid a job,
Yeah.
and I figured all that shit out, and then they stopped calling me for a long time.
Yeah.
Now I've recently been getting phone calls of I can't tell if it's like one of my competitors, like old ladies or something, but
Mhm.
I finally started to figure out, like, this chick had called me, and I was like, dude, it seems like this voice sounds familiar. And then I'd gotten, like, a couple weeks later, another call, and I could tell it was that chick, and she was changing her voice to sound like she had a country accent.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, like, I just politely, I told her, I was like, just, asked if I wanted to bid a condo, and just to give her a general price, you know what I mean, versus
Yeah.
submitting a proposal. I told her, I said, we don't, I said, due to the fact that I get phone calls all the time of people trying to solicit pricing information from me, I don't
Yeah.
quote prices over the phone, but I'd be happy to meet you there. And then
Yeah.
she's like, no, that's okay, you know what I mean, like,
Yeah.
we'll figure something else out. But that
Yeah.
shit's starting to fucking piss me off. Do you get phone calls like that all the
A
time?
ton, a ton. So I
Motherfucker.
get text messages too on my business line. So my business phone number is different than my personal phone number, but it's a cell phone. It's linked to a cell phone, and so there's tons of text messages for like borrowing money constantly. There's tons of text messages for like the English is bad. It's like I will like you to paint my exterior.
Yes, I get those all the time.
Anytime it's I will like you to, I'm like, all right, fuck that, delete.
Yeah.
Um, but there's also people out there who just do marketing to their website and then sell you the leads, right? So like the guy could be in Missouri and he's just doing his own marketing for like painting houses in Orange County, and like just doing his own online marketing for that, and then trying to sell his leads to people in Orange County, right? Or fucking name your place, painting houses in Riverside.com, and then trying to sell anybody who lives in that area those leads. um, there's a lot of people selling leads out there, and a lot of it, like I've used Home Advisor before. um, and I used Home Advisor. Really, it used to be called Service Magic when it first started, and this has got to be like 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was really good. It was pretty good back then. But nowadays, they have these ways to just get anybody to be counted as a lead. Like if you're searching like house painters in Huntington Beach, and a little pop up comes up like, um, find out how much it would cost to paint your home in less than 5 minutes with our paint calculator, right? And you go in there, you fill out your name, your phone number, your email address, and click like next step, right? Then it's like, oh, sign up for whatever, $5.99 to use our paint calculator. And then you click no, delete out of it. Well, they got a name and a phone number and an email address. Now they sell that lead to me or you or whatever for fucking $110. You call that lead, they're like, no, I'm not interested in getting painting done. It was just a little thing I filled out online. It's like, fuck. But they made their money, and to get your money back is kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So their business
I've
model.
never used any lead generating services. When I started, I was like, fuck it. I started my own business, and I
Yeah.
just didn't stop. And I started making the videos and fucking sending those out all over the place. The Google account, the Facebook,
Yeah.
and I think primarily I get around by word of mouth.
Yeah.
Maybe occasionally I fucking uh might get a lead off of Facebook, but I think primarily in terms of like cold calls, it's Google.
Yeah.
And then I think Sherwin gives out my number a lot, so like I'm
Yeah.
probably the first card that gets handed out at Sherwin. So I think
Yeah.
that's the most important thing is word of mouth, your distributor, fucking, building a relationship with them, and
Yeah.
and at least being in the top 3 cards when somebody walks into the paint store. And then yeah, dude, I think that's about it. So
As you accumulate time as a business, you get all kinds of different lead sources, like just naturally, organically.
yeah.
We recently had this guy who we did his kitchen cabinets like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. And he used to run dealerships, automotive dealerships, two of them. Well, his dealerships got bought out and he got fired like, I don't know, a year ago, 8 months to a year ago. And he started doing sales for like one of these like kitchen remodeling companies. They like sell all the materials, so they sell the cabinets, they sell the countertops, they sell the whatever, and then they just have subcontractors do the installation. So it's like a one-stop shop. If you want to get a remodel, you go into their showroom and pick stuff out, and they install it. Well, they started referring us because this guy, he knows we do good work. They had whoever their other cabinet finishers. Um, it's like a Reborn Cabinetry, I think, which is a really big manufacturer. They won't refinish their own cabinets, so if you ever want to get a color change, like they won't do it. So he's been referring us like all these fucking projects. It's like a shit ton of work. Um, but it's free. Like this source is free, and I mean, these jobs are like slam dunk for us on the sales side because we got referred by this whole company that's selling them everything else. Like, why not buy the paint through them too? But so you just start accumulating all these different sources of leads, different referral sources, naturally and organically on your Google My Business page. You start picking up more steam on that. Like every year that gets better. Um, but yeah, like we do well over $1 million a year just in like repeat and referral work.
Yeah.
Just from being around for a long time and doing good enough work, to
Yeah,
keep
I think
people up.
that's time. I think too with like
Yeah,
the Google listing, it takes at least a year for you to even generate a phone call.
yeah, probably. Well, there's differences. Like you can be really active on it. If
Yeah.
you're really active on it and you're constantly putting out new content, you'll register quicker.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it took me about a year because people, even if you do a good job for somebody, they don't give, like, hey, can
yeah,
you give me a review on Google?
yeah.
You
They
know what I
all say
mean?
yes. Yeah, of
Yes.
course I will, and then never
Yeah.
fucking do
So,
it.
I am
Yeah.
with the Google. I think there might be one other company that has more reviews than I do, but
Hmm.
I've got more, all perfect 5-star reviews, and then I've got like I think one more review than like everybody else,
Yeah.
and then it puts me at the top of the list.
Dude, I have a fucking this sucks. I have a 2-star review on my Google listing and it's from me
Oh
and I can't
fuck!
fucking get it off.
Damn.
It was an I did on accident. I think I was like falling asleep, like you're fucking on your phone and you're like,
Oh,
half
dude.
asleep and that's the only time I could think of when it had to have been. This is like fucking a year ago or something like that. And I've tried logging into all my different Google accounts because I have a lot of emails, for business and a couple for personal. And I've tried logging it and it just says like JQ Paint and it shows a 2-star review. So it's like obvious that it was me, but then it's like, why the fuck would they give themselves a 2-star review? That's really weird.
Yeah.
Um, and I cannot get Google to remove it. I'm
You've
like,
you've contested it
oh,
and stuff.
yeah, like fucking 30 times. I flagged
Fuck.
it, marked it
Yeah.
as inappropriate, marked it as against conduct, whatever, whatever all the options they have are. And then I just wrote a response to it saying, Google, please remove this. It was
Yeah, and that shit,
whatever.
I don't care. Google says that a bad review doesn't affect your listing, but they're
Yeah.
fucking liars, dude. I had
Yeah.
my ex fucking made like fake Google accounts and went and gave me terrible reviews.
Oh
And
yeah.
dude, it
Great.
took me months to get them removed or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it tanked me, dude. I went down to like
Yeah.
15 or 20 on the list.
Yeah. I think like having some not perfect ones is okay. It's probably good. But not when you don't have that many.
Yeah.
Like on Yelp, we have like 150, 160 reviews, and we have, I don't know, maybe 5 that are like 1 or 2 stars. So out of 150, we're still like 4.5 stars out of 5. And the ones that are bad are like ridiculous. They're like, obviously the person's just angry or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that helps because I think people go through, they try to find the bad ones. What do the bad people have to say about them? Okay. Like either this person's crazy or this isn't that bad. Like we don't have any real, like seriously bad ones. It's just shit that was
Yeah.
disagreements or whatever. But um, there's one company near me that has like 250 reviews, maybe a shit ton.
Yeah.
And they're all perfect reviews except for a couple of them that are like this person subcontracts work, it's third party, their painters showed up, they didn't even know who this person was, but like pretty bad, like
Yeah.
that's bad for business, but they pay people to give them good reviews, so if shit goes bad they'll pay them to leave a good review and not a bad review, or to not leave a review at all. So that's
Yeah.
how they're able to maintain.
Dang.
It's really weird. It's like this Russian lady who runs the thing, runs the show. We've bid against her a bunch of times. We've seen her on projects.
Dude, I'll drive to somebody's fucking house if they gave me a bad review. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I had this old man call me the other day, and he's, talking about how he needed a painter to come paint some poles at his
Yeah.
house, and it's just another one of those things where I'm like, fuck, dude, I wish these people that wanted all this little shit done would just
Yeah.
stop calling me, because I'm
Yeah.
finally, because I go look at everything, right, and I finally got to the stage to where I'm just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna tell everyone that calls we're not taking any new clients right now or something. But
Yep.
I talked
So
to
we do
this old
minimums. Yeah, we do minimums, and then we also will do that sometimes. We're not taking clients.
Yeah, I talked to this old man about painting some poles, and he had some exterior stuff to do. I told him I was driving, so I would call him back in an hour, and then I sent him a promo video.
Mm-hmm.
And I call him back in an hour, and he was like, uh, what did he say? He's like, oh, I think you're above my pay grade. And
Yeah.
he's like, I'm just looking for, like somebody that just kind of does this stuff to get by. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. I was like, well, we're not known for being the cheaper price. So
Yeah.
he's like, all right. And he's like, yeah, I just want to, do you know of anybody, you know of any good painters? And I was like, well, good and cheap
Yeah.
don't really
Cheap.
go in
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, I just want to find a decent painter. He's like, I just need to find somebody that'll do it for cheap. And I was like, well, you're in luck, because about every number you're fixing to call is going to be that way.
Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah.
All right. I got to wrap up. Okay. So I guess on our next one, well, sometime soon, we're going to go in about um, probably the psychology when it comes to sales, how we run through our sales processes, the kind of things we're thinking about. Um, I think it's really interesting, and you've had a lot of conversations with other people about it, and we've talked a little bit about it, but we can go pretty deep into the psychology when you're trying to sell something at a higher price than everybody else. When seemingly they're giving the client the same thing that you are, but somehow you got to convince a client that it's not the same and you got to pay me more. And if you don't pay me more to give it to you, then you might be making a mistake. You might get taken.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've had conversations with guys, like some guys on Instagram that I have respect for, even though they're using fucking Pharaoh and ball bullshit.
Yeah.
But no, some legit guys that I talk to, and one especially, that a year or so ago I was talking to him about, how the fuck do I increase my pricing and yada yada. And essentially, he didn't really have any answers for it or whatever, but he kind of gave me the motivation to try it, and just fucking having your price be what your fucking price is, and not accepting less, and
Yep.
and trying to set yourself aside from that. But I think the biggest thing in doing that, where you start from, is you have to have enough work on the books to start sacrificing those fucking jobs, because it's a
Yes.
fucking experiment. You can't just jack your prices up and think you're
Yeah.
gonna fucking make
And
it.
you need to be a higher quality. You need to be higher caliber. Not just
Yeah.
anybody can jack up their prices and sell it. You actually got to be able to back it up. I had a client. This is like maybe 15 years ago. One of my clients, I was still very small, maybe just by myself or maybe with one guy. Um, and this client was like a big wig at a tech company, and we were talking business. I've always talked to my clients whenever they're willing to. I try to get information out of them about what they do, and I don't know, everybody has something to say, but um, he was like, why don't you try to be like the Louis Vuitton of painting? Just like double your rates right now. Like on your next project that you give an estimate, double it. And if people are still paying, then double it again. Like just keep doubling your price until not that many people are taking it. And he's like, you can just specialize. Like you don't have to be a giant company to make money. You can be a small company, but just charge a shit ton of money, and your whole pitch is like the Louis Vuitton of painting, right? It's like, because there was a while where, um, you can have a name, you can have a warranty where it affects, like, people would list it in their selling. It would be like a selling feature, right? It's like the cabinets got done by this company and they're guaranteed for 20 years and this is what we're selling, right? Like there's some value to that kind of stuff. And you could have a name like that. It's just like when we're talking about me switching to Fine Paints of Europe, right? It's like the same
Yeah.
concept where
The only reason I don't look at myself that way, and that I don't gear myself up that way, is because, I've got 25 years of the fucking fanciest motherfuckers coming in looking for a job. I'm fancy this. I've done
yeah,
this,
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and they can't fucking do shit, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, um, I think
But
good.
but your product is good though. Your product is
Yeah.
really high quality. Your experience, your knowledge is a really high caliber. Like these are not lies, right? There's a difference in somebody selling that and not being able to deliver versus somebody, being able to deliver, right? But you
Yeah.
might not be selling it. You might not be selling how high caliber you are, how high of quality they're going to get. And once you do combine those two, you're selling it and you're backing it up. That's like a really winning combo.
Yeah. I think
Um,
right now, like, even with my ability to productively do things, there's only so many different areas that you can apply like innovation into a production environment and get
yeah.
something done literally like 3 to 4 times faster than anyone ever thought possible, and it still be
Hmm.
clean. But
Yeah.
there's a huge difference between working hard and, being productive. You're still forced into some jobs doing things traditionally. So if you put in more prep and you put on, whereas like, hey, like this job, I'm going to oil prime and I'm going to do 2 top coats, whereas the competition would just fucking do 1 top coat or something. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
a lot of the jobs in my area anyway, that's justifying a higher price is the fact that we're putting in more work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yeah.
like, if I were to, take this company like somewhere else, like the Northeast or the West Coast or whatever, I could see being able to market myself that way. Hey, we're
Yes.
fancy, or we do
Yeah.
badass quality work, blah blah blah. But here it's not as appreciated. You know what I mean? So I have to really
Right.
fight to find those fucking jobs.
Yeah. 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 I agree. I'm sure my market is bigger for that kind of work or for
Yeah.
that kind of company.
And
All right.
quality isn't necessarily like to me. It's not about doing something fancy or being fucking fancy. It's just about doing shit sensibly. It's about doing shit productively, and it's about, making it fucking last and it being clean,
Yeah.
straight, nice
Hmm.
tight prep, clean lines, fucking, you know, applied properly. I'm going to check moisture content. I'm going to fucking,
Right.
I'm not going to apply paint in direct sunlight. I'm going to prime where
Yeah.
appropriate, or, do I
Hmm.
need to block efflorescence discharge here, or fucking, you know what I mean? Just there's a
Yeah. Yeah.
thousand different little things that make a painter, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't think, you know, doing good work means you're fancy, you know what I mean? Unless you're
Yeah.
straight up, I'm fucking fancy, and then I
But but
that's not my fucking deal.
yeah, but these days that um you kind of naturally become at the top when you're just doing all the things you're supposed to do, right? If you are blocking out fluorescence in any areas where it might come up, like that's what you should do, but almost nobody would do that, right? There are a million companies out there that are not thinking about that, that are just like any kind of primer will work, just put it on there, it's primed, yes, it's primed. There's all those things, most of those things bring you up a notch, whereas the majority of the companies out there are not doing those things to bring them up a notch.
Yeah, a lot of, that's the thing too, that a lot of people don't like dude, read a fucking label or fucking read
Yeah.
a, you know, MSDS or a fucking data
Yeah.
page, or, you know, like read and fucking comprehend and understand what you're doing and why and what's in this. And you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
knowledge, you know what I mean? Like, and there's also the guys too that fucking, you know, like we hired a dude that fucking used to, you know, work at a paint store for fucking 10 years, and like we talked to him, and you know, it talk all fancy and shit. Well,
Mhm.
you know, this and this, you know, has this in it and this and that, and then,
Yeah.
you know, okay, dude, like go sand these doors, and then you go check on them. It's like, how do you know all this shit but you can't even sand a fucking door? Can you please
Yeah.
re-sand all these fucking doors, dude, and just
Yeah.
stop telling me about fucking data pages and shit?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All good.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time. See you later, man.
Later.
As always, please like our YouTube page, give us 5-star only reviews on all podcast platforms. If you have questions or comments, send them over to hello@paintsniffers.com or on Instagram @paint_sniffers.
You can also watch the video version of the podcast on the Alpha Painting YouTube page. Go to playlists and it will be filed under Paint Sniffer Podcast. Via YouTube, you can write into QA@paintsniffer.com.
Thank you for listening to Paint Sniffer Podcast.